Welcome back to yet another episode of Back to Basics, starring yours truly. Anyway, let's just jump right into it. We're not going to screw around. Chicken Cordon Bleu is what's on the menu for this evening. We keep talking about what are we going to do in the next show? What are we going to keep working on? I think Kara was the one that actually brought up Cordon Bleu. When was the last time that you've had chicken Cordon Bleu? When was the last time you made chicken Cordon Bleu? Me, grade 11, probably. So 7 years ago, right? 7 years ago. And if you call me out on it, let's have a banter online. Anyway, enough of the BS. Let's just get to it. I'm actually going to make two different kinds. I'm going to make one that's super traditional. So why don't we start on that one? Then we'll get to the other one. I have no idea if it's going to even work. But let's just have some fun, because if it doesn't, then it just doesn't, and we'll eat it no matter what it looks like. So BS chicken, boneless, skinless. Okay, back down on our board. What we want to do with this is we want to create an internal pocket. So take your boning knife if you've got one. If it's a paring knife, that's all you got. Doesn't make any difference. Just make a pocket inside of it. If you puncture on the outside, the world's not going to end. The family's not going to know. But in a restaurant setting, you get your knuckles wrapped on pretty good if the pocket's not solid. So I'm going to try and make a solid pocket. So what we want to do is we want to just get into the fatty side, just in here. We're going to run our knife straight in, right in the middle. What we want to do is use our offhand, as a guide. You should, as you move your knife around, you can actually feel the blade inside. And knowing how far in you're going, so we're not coming out on the other side. So run your knife in. We don't want to run all the way down, but we do want a pocket big enough to be able to put our ham and cheese in. So now what we do is we start moving our knife all the way through the pocket. Okay? Trying desperately not to break it, which I'm not going to show you if I did or didn't, but I certainly did. So again, a little pocket, you can run your finger in there and really see how far down that goes in. Looks like we need a little bit more down at the bottom. So we'll just flip it around. And let's just get a little bit further. There we go. Okay, pretty straightforward stuff. Next, nice piece of ham. Everybody usually has some in their freezer. Slap your bit of cheese on there. Let's get a nicer looking one. There we go. Just gonna fold that over. Bring it up just once. Cut off a little bit of the excess, because the pocket is somewhat small. Okay, take those little bits, give them to the dogs, eat them yourself, really don't care. Okay, so now what we want to do is, where we've got that pocket formed, we're going to slide in our ham and cheese, fire it in that pocket, and we want it in far enough that we're not going to see it. So as we take a look at that, it just closes up fairly well. Okay, after that, we'll get to it in a minute, we'll start breading. Okay, so the one that we don't know whether it's going to work or not, but we're just gonna roll with it. We've got another whole chicken breast here. I've actually gone ahead and butterflied it, and butterflying is really kind of that same process. Cut it right in half and open it wide open. Okay, I've gone ahead and done that, and we got a nice chicken breast wide open like that. So what we're actually going to do is we're going to put it in some saran wrap, and we're going to pound it down. So we got our trusty little meat hammer? No, that's not it. Meat tenderizer. Okay, just lay it out. Put extra, double the amount of saran wrap that you're going to need. One little trick that I didn't show you, and I'll have to show you when we get to the next step, is make sure that your board's wet. Okay? Saran wrap's not going to stick just to a regular countertop unless it's wet. It's got to have some moisture. Just wet it down a little bit, plop it down, and your saran wrap's no longer going to move. So just old fat guy chef trick, right? So bring that back over, and we just want to knock this down a bit. Okay? Try and get it as even as possible. We don't want any big weird spots. Okay? We also don't want this super thin, so it cooks in like 5 minutes. Okay? fairly nice nice and even. If it's not, I don't care. Okay, so actually, we just had a really good question. As I was pounding out the chicken breasts, you noticed that I was using the side. Okay. Well, why didn't I use the other bits on either end? You got a really tight kind of crisscross action here, and then one that's a bit bigger. Those ones are typically going to be used for bigger proteins, right? Maybe for pork, you want to really tenderize it. That's all we're doing. We're not really just pounding up. We're actually tenderizing by the separation of not only just the tendons, but the actual muscles themselves as well. So typically beef, you can really get in there and pound down on it because it's a bigger piece of meat. Pork is going to be a little bit thinner. So same thing with fish, the exact same process that we just did. Use the side, right? Especially when we're using saran wrap. If you use these big chunky ends, you're just going to tear everything apart. So that's what these are for. Not a big deal. Open that back up. Now we're going to take our pounded out chicken breast and lay it back down on our plate there. So next, we'll just grab a bit more water. So again, I just want to put a little bit of moisture on my board so saran wrap doesn't move again. Okay, so next, the almighty bacon. So we're gonna wrap this. So we're gonna stuff it, roll it, and we're gonna roll it in some bacon. So before we get to that part, we want to make our roll. Okay, put that back down again, nice and wet. Season everything. Every step of this, we need some seasoning. So a bit of salt. Bit of pepper. Next, we're going to fire in a beautiful piece of ham. Again, I have no clue if this is going to work. So it might be an epic fail at the end of this. Okay, bit of Swiss cheese. Just grated. Nice and easy. Fire that around. Try and stay away from those top edges a little bit. Bring it down a little. Okay, got our grated cheese in there. So next, here's the little trick. We're now going to take the edge of our saran wrap and we're gonna roll this. Okay. So this is where when you go to a fine dining restaurant, you've got these, beautiful trees, these little logs of chicken or whatever you want to call them. This is how we do it. Okay. And I'm going to walk you right through the process. It's actually going to be pretty cool. So just bring it up. Okay. Bring it up about halfway, and then with the saran wrap, you want to push that back in against the saran wrap. Don't roll the saran wrap in it. I can't make that any more clear. We want the saran wrap the outside. It's not a food group. Okay? So now you pull it again and then push that back a little bit more. So we're keeping it consistent. We're keeping that, we want that nice and tight. So yes, if somebody wants to be a smart ass, we can call this what? A chicken sausage roll or a chicken sausage, whatever, chicken terrine, chicken cordon bleu just jacked up. Okay, so there we go. Now we're gonna unwrap this. Got this nice little log. Okay, that down, move that out of the way. Lay down the good stuff. Okay, just at the very ends, overlap it. We want to be able to get as much surface area on this as possible. Okay. So six pieces of bacon. Okay, we want to put this back on. And we want the bacon just to be just on the outsides, okay? So exact same process that we just went through. Let's wrap it up with the saran wrap again. See if it works. So hold it in, give it a roll, go a little over halfway on this one, button that down. Give that just a good firm press back into itself. Undo your saran wrap, not in the food, okay? And try and bring that all the way around. We want those last bits of bacon to to overlap themselves. We'll squish those little buggers in. There we go. Coming together. So now we want to tie our ends. Can be a little tricky on this one. You can actually roll it. Okay. Wrap your saran wrap ends at the bottom. Okay. Keep it just like that. Next, we're going to do basically the exact same thing with tin foil. Break out a piece of tin foil. Because realistically, you know, some of you are maybe asking, well, chef, why are you putting saran wrap in the oven? It's a fucking good question, right? So now we're going to wrap it in tin foil. Now we can be a little bit more aggressive. We can pull this in. Okay. Each spot, just keep pulling. Okay. Next, we want to tie in one of the ends. So now what we're going to do is we're going to put a bunch more pressure on this. Okay. So we bring that in. So all those proteins, as they're cooking, they're tightening together, right? Proteins shrink when we add heat. So now everything's going to shrink just that little bit and form a nice sausage. So the goal with this is once it's cooked, we'll show you in a few minutes, is we're going to take it out. Okay, then we're going to pan roast it, fire it in the oven, and Bob's your uncle. Hopefully we've got something pretty cool. So oven's already preheated, 350. I'm going to put these in. Typically what we're looking at is 30 to 35 minutes. I'm going to put these in for 30 minutes and we'll see what that internal temperature looks like. Now we're into breading. Let's do a breading station, right? What's in a breading station? Flour, eggs, egg wash, whatever you want to call it. And then we got our breadcrumbs, right? We always start with our flour. Second, we're going to get to our eggs. Third, we're going to finish off with the breadcrumbs. Very important that you put it in those ways. I'm not going to jump into it just yet. I want you to be aware of what we're doing. Every single piece of what we're building, anytime that we're cooking, think of the steps. Think about what that flavor profile tastes like. What does just plain flour taste like? Garbage, right? So let's put some seasoning in it. Same thing with eggs. Before you're going to eat your eggs, you're going to nail that with some salt and pepper, okay? And then the breadcrumbs. There's no reason why we can't flavor some of the breadcrumbs. We're going to keep it fairly straightforward. I'm not going to add a bunch of herbs and a bunch of BS to it. Just going to add some salt and pepper to it. So let's get busy. Let's throw some salt and pepper in each layer. It doesn't need to be overwhelming, without question. It's just a little something that as you bite all the way through whatever you're eating, it just tastes spectacular. So see, these are some of the little things that as a chef and as an apprentice that we think about. Every piece of what we do is always very well thought out. It's always calculated to make sure that our flavor profiles are maximized as best as possible. And just give it a quick mix. Rocket science not required. Make a mess because you're going to make a mess anyway. Okay, so for you gluten-free ones out there, so this is, again, everything that we make at home is gluten-free. So we ended up getting some gluten-free panko crumbs. They're chunky as hell and really hard to work with. So what I've done actually is took a little food processor and buzzed them up. Okay, nothing crazy, pretty straightforward stuff, not a big deal. Okay, so now what we want to do, we've got our chicken breasts that we've carefully put together. Got our ham and cheese little log in there, I guess. So now what we want to do is dredge this. Before that, let's throw some seasoning on here. Don't need too much salt. We've already got some lovely smoked ham in there already. Nothing wrong with doing both sides. Take that little extra second. There we go. Perfect. So, let's take it, fire it in our flour first. Okay, we're going to hit that dredge. Okay, why do we put that in the dredge? Well, there's already moisture on the chicken. Okay, it's going to help, as you can see, sticks to the product beautifully. Next, what's going to happen is we want the eggs to stick to the chicken in the drink. Perfect. Watch which hands you're actually using. Use a hand for a job. So what I typically do is I'm going to use my left hand for flour and egg. Okay? Dip it in, both sides, and away we go. Let it drain off just that little bit. Okay, fire that in. Switching hands now, because now I'm not, my left hand is gonna get the breadcrumbs goopy, lumpy, then I gotta throw out half my product. So I use the other one. So all I do, throw it in, put some stuff on the top. Okay, just super easy. That's it. Look at that. Beauty. Perfect. Looks wonderful. It's gonna get ready to go in the oven. So our chicken terrine Cordon Bleu-y thingies have come out of the oven. They've been in there half an hour, maybe 32 minutes if we want to be super precise. So I'm, again, a bit of an experiment. Let's see if this will work. So just untie it. If you can ever find your seam again, go for it. Okay, there's our tin foil. You can see our saran wrap is still intact, right? And that's where the protective part comes in with our tin foil. So next what we're gonna do, we're gonna take this over to the stove. I got a pan on already with a little bit of oil. I didn't bother using olive oil or anything along those, just canola oil. I'm gonna slam some butter in there and we're gonna sear these up. One of them might fall apart, but let's head over to the stove and find out. Okay, pan's nice and warm. We're gonna get a little bit of butter. Fire that in. Got our tongs. This one has stayed together fairly well. So what we want to just do is we're just going to brown our bacon. Just like that. So typically we're not going to put a lot of butter and oil together, but this time we are. We want that flavor, and we want the brown to happen with our butter. So don't be afraid to give it a little bit of a baste. Just tilt your pan. What that's going to do is going to add the flavor into our bacon, which it doesn't need any more flavor, but it's just going to help with that browning process. So not super high heat, I'm at about a medium heat, and because I don't want the bacon to super shrink up any further than it has. I want everything to hold together. Just give it a baste. So what we're looking for is we're looking to get enough color all the way around. Everything in here is already cooked all the way through. Just looking for a little bit of presentation value as well as a little bit of flavor, right? Like I said, 32-ish minutes. I don't really care if you pick it apart or not. A regular chicken Cordon Bleu cooked nicely. It's not quite as golden brown as maybe yours is going to turn out if you're using regular breadcrumbs. We're using gluten-free, so we had to jack up the heat a little bit for a couple minutes, hit the broiler, and make some magic happen. So dinner's pretty well plated. This is the last bit. So let's get to portioning some of this. See what this looks like. Give a little taste. It is hot for sure. So here we go. So here's our regular kind of home done favorite. There we go. Give this a little shake. See what we think. Everything you ever thought it would be. Ham, Swiss cheese, succulent chicken. It's cooked perfectly. It's hot for sure. Super tasty. It's gonna go perfect with the rest of our stuff for dinner. So now our experiment. I have no idea what this is gonna look like or whether it's gonna taste good. It's actually gonna taste good. It has two different kinds of pork. It's got cheese and it's got chicken. How does that not taste awesome? So let's give this a little shake, our little kind of a pinwheel, right? Look at that. Mercy Lord. It's cooked perfect. You can see it's still lots of moisture in the chicken. Okay, that ham wraps around, the cheese wraps around. I tell you guys gotta come over. That's it. Dinner served. Chicken Cordon Bleu. Done. Ready to go. Love you. Stay safe.